Some games aren't just good, they raise your standards forever. After playing them, every other game feels smaller. These 15 games are true 10 out of 10 masterpieces that you need to play urgently.
Man, Metro Exodus is something else. Most shooters want you to feel like a god, but Metro wants you to feel the weight of every breath. Moving the series from those tight, suffocating tunnels to the vast post-nuclear Russian wilderness was a masterstroke. You're on this train, the Aurora, and it genuinely starts to feel like home. Every time I stepped out into the snow of the Volga or the heat of the Caspian, I felt that immediate tension. The gameplay is all about immersion. There's no traditional HUD cluttering your screen. You have to physically look at your map, wipe the mud off your gas mask, and pump your air rifle manually. It's crunchy in the best way possible. The story of Artyom and his wife Anna is so grounded and heartfelt that it actually made me care about the stakes. You aren't just saving the world, you're trying to find a place where your family can finally breathe without a filter. What I love and sometimes hate is how unforgiving it is. If you don't scavenge, you die. If you're reckless with your ammo, you're toast. But that desperation is exactly what makes the atmosphere so perfect. It's a slow burn, gritty, and incredibly poetic journey. By the time I reached the end, I felt like I had actually traveled across a continent. It's a survival horror masterpiece that stays with you.
2. Titanfall 2. If you haven't played the Titanfall 2 campaign, what are you even doing? Seriously, this is arguably the most inventive single-player shooter ever made. It's short, it's punchy, and it doesn't waste a single second of your time. You play as Jack Cooper, a grunt who becomes a pilot, but the real star is BT-7274, your Vanguard-class Titan. Their buddy cop dynamic is surprisingly emotional. I didn't expect to catch feelings for a giant metal robot, but here we are. The gameplay is pure adrenaline. The wall running and double jumping feels so fluid it makes every other shooter feel like you're walking through mud. And the level design? Man, Effect and Cause, the level where you shift between two different timelines in real time, is absolute genius. I remember my first time playing that section. My jaw was on the floor. Every mission introduces a new mechanic, uses it perfectly, and then tosses it aside before it gets boring. My only complaint is that it ends too soon. I wanted 10 more hours of BT and Cooper, but maybe that's why it's perfect. It leaves you wanting more. It's a tight, high-octane ride with a massive heart. If you want to see what happens when developers are given total creative freedom to make the funnest aim possible, this is the answer. Number 3. Far Cry 5. Now, Far Cry 5 might be a controversial pick for a perfect list, but hear me out. The atmosphere of Hope County, Montana is just intoxicating. Ubisoft nailed the Americana vibe, the pine trees, the rivers, the feeling of a cult-occupied wilderness. But the real reason this game is on the list is Joseph Seed and his family. As far as villains go, the father is terrifying because he's so calm, so convinced he's the hero of the story. The gameplay is the ultimate sandbox. You can be stealthy with a bow, or you can call in a plane to carpet bomb a ranch. The Guns for Hire system added so much personality. Walking around with a cougar named Peaches or a pilot like Nick Rye made the world feel alive. I spent hours just fishing in the rivers between missions because the environment was so relaxing, only to be ambushed by a cult convoy 2 minutes later. The contrast is brilliant. What I didn't love? Those forced kidnapping sequences that pull you out of the open world. They're a bit jarring. But the ending? Man, that ending. It's bold, it's bleak, and it completely reframes everything you did in the game. It's a provocative, beautiful, and chaotic trip through the dark heart of rural America. It's the peak of the Far Cry formula for me. 4. Yakuza Like a Dragon. Switching gears completely, we have Yakuza Like a Dragon. This game was a massive risk, taking a legendary brawler series and turning it into a turn-based JRPG. And somehow, it's the best the series has ever been. We moved away from the stoic Kiryu to a new protagonist, Ichiban Kasuga. Ichiban is a total dork. He's obsessed with Dragon Quest, he wears his heart on his sleeve, and he's probably the most lovable protagonist in gaming. The gameplay is hilarious. Because Ichiban has a wild imagination, he sees street thugs as monsters, so the battles turn into these over-the-top spectacles, with summons like a crawfish or a guy in a diaper. It sounds ridiculous, and it is, but the story is incredibly mature. It's a tale about homelessness, politics, and the people society forgets. The bond between Ichiban and his party of misfits felt more real to me than almost any other RPG squad. The only low point is that it requires a bit of grinding toward the end, and some of the dungeons can be a bit repetitive, but the emotional payoff, watching Ichiban's loyalty be tested, it's a 10 out of 10. It's a game that makes you laugh until you cry, and then actually cry. It's a celebration of friendship, and a must-play for anyone who loves a deep, character-driven story. Number 5. Bloodborne. If you want to talk about a game that has a soul, you have to talk about Bloodborne. I still remember the first time I stepped into Central Yharnam, the gothic architecture, the crows, the distant sound of a mob burning a beast. It's pure nightmare fuel perfection. This isn't just Dark Souls with guns, it's a much more aggressive, visceral dance. The gameplay forces you to be proactive. If you get hit, you have to hit back immediately to regain your health. It's a rush of adrenaline that makes your heart beat in your ears. The story starts as a simple hunt, but descends into some of the most disturbing Lovecraftian cosmic horror I've ever seen. The bosses are legendary. Father Gascoigne is still one of the best skill checks in gaming history. I spent hours mastering the parry timing with my blunderbuss, and when it finally clicks, you feel like an absolute god. What I don't love, having to farm for blood vials can be a bit of a drag when you're stuck on a hard boss. But the atmosphere is so thick you could cut it with a saw cleaver. It's a dark, wet, and bloody masterpiece that rewards your patience with some of the best world design ever conceived. It's a 10 out of 10 that lives in my head rent-free. 6. Cyberpunk 2077. I know, the launch was a mess, but the Cyberpunk 2077 we have now, especially with the Phantom Liberty expansion, is a dream come true. Night City is without a doubt the most impressive digital city ever built. I've spent hours just driving around at night, listening to the radio while the neon lights reflect off the wet asphalt. You play as V, but the real star is Johnny Silverhand. Keanu Reeves brings this cynical, punk rock soul to the game that makes your journey feel so much more personal. The gameplay is finally where it needs to be. Whether you're a netrunner melting brains from across the street, or a solo with mantis blades slicing through goons, the combat is fast and incredibly satisfying. The story is a high-speed chase through the dark side of technology, and it's surprisingly emotional. The characters like Panem and Judy feel like actual friends by the time the credits roll. The only downside? The world can still feel a bit static once you finish the main quests, and I wish there were more interactive shops and bars. But the sheer style and the vibe of this game are unmatched. It's a gritty, neon-soaked epic that proves CD Projekt Red still knows how to tell a world-class story. It's a journey worth every second. 7. Fallout 4. Stepping out of Vault 111 for the first time is a gaming memory I'll never forget. That blinding sunlight hitting the ruins of your old neighborhood, it's powerful. Fallout 4 is the ultimate distraction simulator. You start looking for your son, but 5 minutes later, you're building a water purifier for a group of settlers or exploring a creepy comic book shop. The world is just packed with these little environmental stories that make the apocalypse feel lived in. The gameplay is that classic Bethesda loop of see a landmark, go explore it. The gunplay was a huge step up from the previous games, and the power armor feels like a walking tank. It has real weight and impact. I personally loved the settlement building, even though it was a bit janky. Turning a pile of scrap into a thriving home for survivors made me feel like I was actually fixing the world. My gripe, the dialogue system is a bit simplified, and I miss the more complex skill checks from New Vegas. But the companions, like Nick Valentine, the synth detective, are some of the best writing Bethesda has ever done. It's a massive radioactive sandbox that you can lose 200 hours in and still find something new. It's the peak of post-apocalyptic role-playing for me.
8. Batman Arkham Knight. This is the ultimate Batman simulator. Arkham Knight takes the free-flow combat we love and polishes it to a mirror finish. The way Batman moves between enemies is like a brutal ballet. But for me, the real game changer was the Batmobile. I know it was polarizing, but the raw power of that thing smashing through concrete walls while you hunt down tanks is pure wish fulfillment. The story is a dark, psychological dive into Bruce Wayne's mind. The way the Joker is handled in this game, without spoiling anything, is absolutely genius writing. It keeps the stakes personal while the entire city of Gotham is under siege by the Arkham Knight and Scarecrow. The atmosphere is incredible. The rain never stops, the neon is bright, and the city feels genuinely dangerous. What I didn't like? Some of the Batmobile stealth sections felt a bit out of place and dragged on, but the Predator encounters, where you pick off thugs from the shadows, are still the best in the genre. It's a technical masterpiece that still looks better than most games coming out today. It's the perfect conclusion to a legendary trilogy, and it makes you feel exactly like The Dark Knight.
9. Resident Evil 2 Remake. If you want to see a masterclass in how to bring a classic into the modern age, look no further than Resident Evil 2 Remake. Walking into that Raccoon City Police Department for the first time, man, the sensation of the damp, dark hallways is suffocating. You play as either Leon S. Kennedy or Claire Redfield, and the game does something incredible. It makes a single police station feel like an entire world. The gameplay is all about tension. The zombies aren't just cannon fodder. They're tanky, they're twitchy, and they're terrifying. But the real star of the show is Mr. X. I still get a shot of adrenaline just thinking about the sound of his heavy footsteps echoing through the ceiling. This is where the game changed for me. When I realized I wasn't the hunter anymore, I was the prey. The inventory management is tight, the puzzles are just clever enough to make you feel smart, and the gore system is, well, it's impressively disgusting. My only tiny gripe, I wish the A and B scenarios felt a bit more distinct like they did in the original 1998 version. But honestly, as a survival horror experience, it's practically flawless. It's a tight, terrifying, and incredibly polished nightmare. Number 10. God of War Ragnarok. How do you follow up a masterpiece? You make it bigger, bloodier, and more emotional. God of War Ragnarok is a massive journey through the 9 realms that feels like a true epic. The relationship between Kratos and Atreus has evolved. It's not just boy anymore, it's a father dealing with a teenager who has his own secrets. The impactful emotion in their quiet moments hit me harder than any of the giant boss fights. The gameplay is peak action RPG. The Leviathan axe is still the most satisfying weapon in gaming, but adding the Draupnir spear and the blades creates a combat flow that is just chef's kiss. The villains, like Thor and Odin, are so multidimensional. They aren't just evil gods. They're a broken family that mirrors Kratos' own struggles. I didn't expect this moment, but seeing Kratos finally show vulnerability made me realize how much he's grown since the Greek days. The game is huge, maybe even a bit too big in the middle sections where the pacing slows down, but the payoff is legendary. The one-shot camera is back, making the 40-hour journey feel like one unbroken breath. It's a mature, cinematic, and profoundly moving story about breaking cycles and choosing who you want to be. Number 11, Ghost of Tsushima. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Ghost of Tsushima is the most aesthetic game ever made. There is a sensation of peace when you're riding through a field of white pampas grass with the guiding wind showing you the way. It's a love letter to Kurosawa movies. You play as Jin Sakai, and watching him struggle between his samurai honor and the dishonorable tactics of the Ghost is a tragic, beautiful arc. The gameplay is razor sharp. The swordplay feels rhythmic. Switching stances to counter shields or spears makes you feel like a true master. That's when I realized something was different. I stopped fast traveling. I just wanted to ride my horse, write haikus, and soak in the world. The memory of the final duel against Lord Shimura is one of the most heartbreaking and visually stunning moments in my 20 years of gaming. The side quests can be a little repetitive. I've followed a lot of foxes, man, but the atmosphere is so thick you won't even care. It's a focused, gorgeous, and incredibly satisfying samurai epic. It's one of the few games where I felt like the world was actually healing as I played. It's pure, unadulterated art in motion. 12. Elden Ring. What can I say about Elden Ring that hasn't been said? It's a miracle of game design. From Software took the Souls formula and dropped it into a world that actually respects your curiosity. The sensation of discovery is unmatched. You see a weird tower in the distance? You can go there. There are no map icons screaming at you. You just explore. The memory of finding Siofra River, a whole galaxy hidden underground, is a jaw-on-the-floor moment. The gameplay is the gold standard. Whether you're a heavy knight or a mage, the build variety is insane. Every boss is a massive event that tests your skill and your patience. This is where the game changed for me, when I realized that losing wasn't failing, it was learning. The impactful emotion of finally overcoming a boss like Millennia after 50 tries is a high that other games just can't provide. It's hard, yes, it will kick your teeth in, and the lack of a traditional quest log can be confusing if you aren't paying attention. But that's the beauty of it. It treats you like an adult. It's a hauntingly beautiful, punishing, and profoundly rewarding masterpiece. It's not just a game, it's a monument to what this medium can achieve. 13. Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm just gonna say it. Arthur Morgan is the most human character ever written in a video game. Red Dead Redemption 2 isn't just about being a cowboy, it's a sensation of living through the end of an era. Rockstar's attention to detail is actually borderline insane. I spent hours just riding through the Heartlands, watching the way the mud sticks to Arthur's boots and how the light filters through the morning mist. It forces you to slow down and actually exist in 1899. The gameplay is heavy and deliberate. Everything from looting a cabinet to cleaning your repeater has a physical animation. Some people find it slow, but for me, that's the magic. It builds a memory of a life lived. By the end, I wasn't the same person. I felt the weight of Arthur's past and the tragedy of Dutch's descent into madness. The camp interactions, the random encounters, the quiet nights under the stars, it's the most immersive world ever built. My only gripe? The mission design is super rigid. If you move 5 feet away from where the game wants you, it's a mission failed. But that's a small price to pay for a story that has this much impactful emotion. It's a 60-hour epic about redemption that will leave you staring at the credits with tears in your eyes. It is the gold standard of open-world storytelling. 14. Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
If you want a game that makes you feel the weight of an axe and the salt of the North Sea, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is it. This is a massive, sprawling Viking saga. You play as Eivor, and the sensation of leading a raid, blowing your horn as your longship hits the shore, is pure adrenaline. I loved how the game broke the map into arcs. It felt like I was playing through an epic TV series where every region had its own king, its own drama, and its own secrets. The gameplay is much more crunchy than previous AC games. The combat is brutal, and the ability to dual-wield anything, including 2 shields, is just fun. This is where the game changed for me, when I stopped worrying about the assassin stuff and just embraced being a Viking leader building a home in England. Exploring the foggy ruins of Roman London or the rolling hills of Wessex creates a lasting memory of a world in transition. I'll be real, it's a long game. If you try to do everything, you're looking at 100 hours, and it can definitely feel bloated in the middle. But the world building, the Norse mythology sections, and Eivor's surprisingly philosophical nature make it worth the trek. It's a journey of conquest and discovery that makes you feel like a legend. 15. The Last of Us Part 2. We started with a masterpiece, and we're ending with one. The Last of Us Part 2 is probably the most polarizing game on this list, but that's because it's bold enough to challenge you. It's a story about the cycle of violence, and it is absolutely brutal. The sensation of the rain-soaked, overgrown ruins of Seattle is suffocatingly beautiful. Playing as Ellie, fueled by a rage that you, the player, feel right along with her, is an incredibly intense experience. The gameplay is the peak of stealth action. The way Ellie crawls through tall grass, the way the AI enemies call out to each other by name, and the squelch of the combat. It's terrifyingly realistic. But the impactful emotion hits its peak when the game flips the script and makes you walk in the shoes of the person you've spent 10 hours hating. The road mattered more than the destination because the ending isn't about winning, it's about the cost of not being able to let go. I'll admit, it's an emotional misery simulator at times. It's heavy, it's dark, and it will make you feel guilty. But the technical polish, the facial animations, the sound design, the acting is the best in the industry. It's a game that stays in your head for years. It's a 10 out of 10 masterpiece that proves video games can tell stories that movies can't even touch. And that's the list, guys. 15 single-player games that I truly believe are as close to perfection as we're ever going to get. These aren't just titles to check off a list. They are experiences that changed how I look at stories, characters, and what it means to be immersed. But hey, that's just my journey. Which of these games raised the bar for you? Or which perfect game did I totally miss? Let's argue about it in the comments. I want to know which world you'd get lost in all over again.